for tens of thousands of dollars more in travel costs for Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard and her administration.
Comes after WGN sued the village for refusing to turn over financial records as required by law. A judge sided with WGN. Investigative reporter Ben Bradley shows what those records reveal.
One scene, you go in there, and then 2 hours after your story airs, that police are at both of these establishments.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
Chaos erupted in Dalton, Illinois, as FBI agents descended upon Mayor Tiffany's residence, turning an ordinary day into a whirlwind of speculation and shock. For those unfamiliar, Tiffany, the town's controversial mayor, has long been at the center of drama, but this takes things to a new level. Reports indicate the FBI's visit wasn't just routine. They allegedly uncovered massive stacks of cash, millions of dollars to be exact, alongside piles of coal. Yes, coal. While the reasons for its presence remain unclear, the discovery has only fueled the growing rumors surrounding her leadership. The streets are buzzing with wild theories. Why was such a vast sum of money sitting out in the open? What other secrets could be hidden in that house? Questions are swirling, and answers remain elusive. One thing is certain, the intrigue surrounding Tiffany has reached an all-time high, leaving residents anxiously awaiting the next shocking twist in this unfolding saga.
Former police chief in South Suburban Dalton is speaking out for the first time to just one station about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's controversial police security detail and how it impacted his ability to fight crime.
Last year, a Fox 32 investigation showed how that detail is taking officers off the street and costing taxpayers thousands of dollars in overtime. Dane Placco continues his investigation, exclusively talking to the former top cop who tried to put a stop to it.
The manpower was just very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking.
Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins spoke to us from Florida, where he's taken a new job after being fired by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard late last year. But Collins says he remains frustrated by what he experienced leading an undermanned, overworked police department, while Mayor Henyard demanded a large personal security detail.
You know, wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions.
Last year, a Fox 32 investigation followed Henyard's detail as Dalton police officers drove her from morning till night, often to her second taxpayer-funded job as Thornton Township Supervisor in South Holland. Through an open records request, we found the officers assigned to Henyard racking up hundreds of hours of overtime, costing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars.
But at some point, there would be 2 officers or 3 officers, and depending on if there was some type of event, it would be more officers.
That's for a town of a little more than 20,000 people that's struggling economically and usually only has a few officers on duty per shift. Collins says Henyard's security detail was warranted when it started in 2021 after a police-involved shooting sparked protests and threats.
And at some point, the protests stopped. However, the detail continued.
And it grew in size and scope. Collins says Henyard frequently uses the officers as her personal valets.
Officers would be sent out to run errands, to do pickups.
And the mayor's detail racked up thousands of dollars in travel expenses, accompanying Henyard on her many trips out of town.
Why do you need a security detail while you're out of town? Who's on the other end of that flight that's going to do harm?
Collins says he became increasingly frustrated because the mayor's detail tied his hands when it came to fighting crime. Just last week, a mass shooting on Sibley Boulevard left 4 people injured. Collins believes the bad guys know there aren't enough cops on Dalton's streets.
But Village of Dalton has its challenges with gangs, guns, and drugs. And if those officers aren't there, the visibility isn't there. And if the visibility isn't there, then criminals have free reign.
When we tried to ask Mayor Henyard about her use of the detail last year, we were stopped by Village Administrator Keith Freeman.
Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she says no.
Collins says he got the same cold shoulder when he tried to tell Freeman about the problems the mayor's detail was creating.
And it more or less was, these are the orders. this is what you have to do.
Last week, Collins filed a civil lawsuit against the Village of Dalton for wrongful termination, saying he was fired by the mayor without cause and without board approval because his wife is friends with some of the mayor's perceived political enemies.
And our contention is that it is illegal.
Did he do anything wrong?
No, Chief Collins, any position that he's ever been in is a policeman's policeman. He held the rank of chief, but he's a patrolman at heart.
But it is frustrating to see the officers used like that. I'm sure the officers are frustrated too, but they follow the order.
Brace yourselves because the FBI just cracked open a treasure chest of absurdity at Tiffany Henyard's residence. And when I say treasure, I mean it. We're talking about millions in cash and hiding spots so bizarre they could double as a Netflix special. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's dive into this mess. Picture this. FBI agents tearing through Tiffany's home like they're contestants on a game show, flipping floorboards, digging through cereal boxes, and even peeking behind paintings. And honey, jackpot. Stacks of cash everywhere. But we're not talking about some basic under-the-mattress kind of stash. Oh no, Tiffany took it up a notch with cash stuffed in hollowed-out books, fake air vents, and yes, even the washing machine. Money laundering, anyone? So, how much are we talking? Girl, grab your pearls. $3.2 million in cash. That's buy a private island and sip margaritas for life kind of money. And that's not all. Word on the street says they found enough bling to make Elizabeth Taylor jealous. Diamonds the size of your dreams, gold chains hefty enough to anchor a yacht, and watches pricier than your mortgage. Now, let's rewind this chaotic saga to see how Tiffany got here. Back in 2019, she started as a small-town trustee in Dalton, Illinois. Fast forward to 2021, and she's sitting pretty as mayor. But honey, the streets were already talking. People were side-eyeing her lifestyle, wondering how a mayor's salary could fund her champagne dreams. Tiffany wasn't content with just one title, though. By 2022, she had added Thornton Township Supervisor to her resume, double-dipping like a chip at a party. And while she was out here collecting titles like Pokemon cards, the drama was piling up. Accusations of using her positions for personal gain started flying. And honey, they're louder than your neighbor's lawnmower at 7 a.m. So here we are, smack in the middle of a scandal bigger than a blockbuster movie. Is this the end of the road for Tiffany, or just the start of an even messier chapter? Stay tuned, because this saga is far from over.
For a year now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard. But we only knew half the story because we only had records from one of the two governments she runs. Now we can show you the real toll her travel is taking on taxpayers. The self-proclaimed super mayor is a prolific poster on social media, but what she rarely publicizes are her travels, trips frequently paid for by taxpayers.
If you want to have a good time, spend your own dime.
Despite being a trustee, this is the first time Tammy Brown has been able to see the village's credit card statements, records we had to get through a judge's order.
When you see things like this, it's like a punch in the gut.
Last January, we told you Tiffany Henyard and her entourage racked up more than $67,000 in travel-related charges in just 5 months. But that's just what was charged to Thornton Township credit cards, where she's the supervisor. When you add in what was billed to Dalton, trips for Mayor Henyard and her entourage cost taxpayers more than $100,000. We questioned Henyard about travel last fall.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
When Henyard hits the road, she and other village and township officials do so in style. Records show they often fly first class, pay for upgrades. They've stayed at luxury hotels, including the Four Seasons, and dine at steakhouses.
Oh my God. When you just see these things.
Let's look at one trip to Austin, Texas in July of last year. 5 people, including Mayor Henyard, for 5 days. While we previously reported the township was billed $27,000, we now know the actual cost was more than $47,000 when you factor in what Dalton taxpayers were charged. It includes nearly $1,000 spent at an Austin Walgreens and a sports riding apparel store. The only explanation for any of the travel was that it was to attend a conference.
I'm sure you guys had an awesome time on the backs of taxpayers, but what do we gain from any of these trips? We gain nothing.
Trustees say they've been demanding explanations for months.
You the ones that's costing the village money. I don't have that call. All right. Okay.
But Henyard and her team refused to share the credit card records.
We were never allowed to get those statements. So this is the reason why you hid it from us, because definitely we will have questions.
Mayor Henyard is in a situation where she feels like she's under attack, because she is.
Bo Brinley is Henyard's criminal defense attorney, hired after the FBI served subpoenas on the village and township earlier this year. He blames Henyard's top aide, Keith Freeman.
Keith Freeman made the decision on how these funds are being used. Keith Freeman is going on these trips. You understand, this is a new mayor. This is someone that is new to this job.
But she never thought, hey, I shouldn't fly first class. I shouldn't stay at the Four Seasons.
If there was a problem with any of that, if that's not how you're supposed to do it, she relied on Freeman to tell her. He's telling her this is how we do things.
How things were done in Dalton is costing taxpayers dearly. Records we obtained show the village leased 3 luxury SUVs for Henyard's use at a cost to residents of more than $374,000.
The mayor didn't spend any of this money. Keith Freeman made decisions and reported to the mayor, this is what we're doing. The mayor trusted him until she didn't.
About that. This is me talking to people that understand business, that understand finance.
Back to those Dalton credit cards. They include nearly $25,000 charged in 5 months without explanation to places like Walmart, Target, and Jewel. There was $5,000 spent at local restaurants and Uber Eats. And Tiffany Henyard's personal photographer charged the village $3,400.
What I think is interesting about this case, this story, is you can be highly legal and unethical at the same time.
Kelly Richmond Pope is an accounting professor who has investigated municipal spending. She says the brazenness is what caught her eye.
Who does this? Who lives this way so out loud? It's almost like, I dare you to ask. I dare you to ask me. And I'm just shocked that a leader would think that they could get away with this type of behavior and that no one's going to ask them about it.
We out here, taste of Thornton. Yeah, keep raining, but it's still going on.
Trustees for both of the governments headed by Henyard have now limited special event and credit card spending, but it may be too little, too late. Dalton is laying off workers after trustees discovered the village is millions in the hole.
We sort of knew we were in a bind, but not to this extent. This is devastating.
Federal prosecutors charged Keith Freeman with bankruptcy fraud. He's now cooperating with trustees investigating Henyard's spending, but he denies he's working with the feds. Freeman declined to comment. The FBI's investigation into Henyard marches on.
Popular bars shut down by police just hours after the owners talked to Fox 32. A village trustee also says it's because they're not financially supporting Dalton's mayor, Tiffany Henyard.
Here's Dean Placco with the latest on the corruption investigation.
Is it coincidence or retaliation? Both of the Dalton bars that were raided and shut down last night, we visited the day before as part of our ongoing investigation into allegations of political corruption in Dalton.
They just rushed in here, put police at the front of the door like they was doing a raid on the drug house or something.
A team of Dalton police officers raided and shut down Pablo's Bar and Cafe and Rinky's Bar and Cafe, both located on Sibley, about a block apart.
Everything going peacefully. Nothing going on. It's like 10 police cars came in and they start pushing customers from here. And he said, if you don't leave, we're going to lock you up.
Employees and owners say it's part of an ongoing campaign of harassment by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard that is costing jobs and money. Their business licenses have been stripped by Dalton, but they've continued to operate with a state license.
I have like over 23 employees. They work from the local township. Now, end of the day, all the employees, they're going to lose their job.
It's ridiculous. We all have mouths to feed. We all have kids. They're not giving us no explanation.
On Monday, we visited both Rinky's and Pablo's to ask about allegations their licenses were being held up for political reasons. Then last evening, we broke the story that FBI agents have questioned at least a half dozen people, including business owners, a former Dalton employee, and an elected official as part of an investigation into Mayor Henyard. Less than 2 hours after our story aired, police raided the two bars.
Someone seen you go in there. And in 2 hours after your story airs, that police are at both of these establishments.
Dalton trustee Tammy Brown says she believes the raids are meant to send a warning to others not to talk. And she believes there's a reason so many Dalton businesses are having trouble getting their licenses renewed.
I'm sure that they were asked to donate, make a donation, and most likely they didn't make a donation. So you don't get a chance to stay open if you don't pay the Queen's ransom.
Now, tomorrow evening, there will be a special public meeting of the trustees opposed to the mayor, in which they plan to take action on the village's finances, getting access to Village Hall. They've been locked out, and welcoming that investigation by federal agencies.
Oh, honey, do you remember that little business trip Tiffany allegedly funded with taxpayer money to Las Vegas? Girl, let's be real. She didn't go there to hit the slots. She claimed it was for a conference, but the only thing people were conferencing about was her wild spending habits. And let's not skip over the time she reportedly hired her own security detail without any proper approval. Who does she think she is, Beyoncé? Living like a diva on the public dime is not a good look. But wait, there's more. Tiffany's also been accused of handing out city contracts to her friends and family like Oprah handing out cars. You get a contract, you get a contract. It's giving major hookup vibes from the mayor's office, and if that wasn't messy enough, let's talk about the intimidation allegations. Sis has been running Dalton like it's her personal kingdom, and the townsfolk aren't having it anymore. The peasants are revolting, honey. Now, with the FBI raid, all those skeletons in Tiffany's closet are doing the cha-cha out in the open. The millions in cash they found? It's not just a scandal, it's a career-ending disaster. Think about it. A small-town mayor sitting on millions in hidden cash? That's shadier than a tree in July. People are asking all the hard questions now. Where did the money come from? Was she skimming off the top? Or are we talking about something even darker? This isn't just a blow to her bank account. It's a full-on wrecking ball to her reputation. Her political career? Honey, it's deader than last year's TikTok trends. And the people of Dalton? They're furious. Feeling duped and played, they're madder than a cat in a rainstorm. One thing's for sure, Tiffany might want to pack her bags. Because this drama is just getting started, and it's not looking good for her.
The Dalton Police Department afford to have this many officers attached to her detail?
We can. We really need them patrolling the streets.
So she's the part-time mayor of a South suburban village of a little more than 20,000 people.
Yet residents of Dalton are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to provide security for their self-proclaimed super mayor.
Tonight, Fox 32 investigates Tiffany Henyard's security detail and the massive amount of overtime it is generating for a handful of officers. Our Dane Placco has more.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
Tiffany Henyard makes nearly $250,000 a year serving as both mayor of Dalton and Thornton Township supervisor, an elected political double dip. She's charismatic and controversial.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Here she is starting a Dalton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City. Later, punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
And it's hard to turn anywhere in Dalton without seeing Henyard's picture, or online, where she recently commemorated 9/11 with her own photo. I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
But when we asked Henyard a few months ago about her use of tax dollars, she was quickly hustled out of the room by armed security. And on Facebook, in videos posted by Henyard herself, we see her being driven around and surrounded by Dalton officers, which got us to wondering, why all the cops?
We weren't opposed to her having the security detail. We asked how long and how often.
Dalton trustee Brittany Norwood says Henyard began assembling her detail shortly after being elected in 2021, using hand-picked Dalton police officers. Using a Freedom of Information request, we obtained the work records for 6 of the officers assigned to Henyard's security detail at various times, and showed them to some of Dalton's trustees.
This is a Freedom of Information request we did to see how much overtime these officers are making on her security detail.
Oh, wow.
162 hours.
162. Well, that's nothing. What goes through your mind when you see these numbers?
It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
There's 336
Does he never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period. Other officers on the security detail are also racking up overtime paychecks in the multiple thousands of dollars.
Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she says no.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dalton giving out water on a 100-degree day, surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and 2 videographers documenting for Dalton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dalton and stop telling lies.
But when we gave her an opportunity to explain the OT,
Mayor, why do you need so many officers, details, or your security?
What did you say, water? It sounded like you said water.
earlier that day, we watched as a Dalton cop drove Henyard from her other job at Thornton Township to a Mexican restaurant for lunch. Trustees say the security detail picks the mayor up at her home in the morning and is with her until she's dropped off at night, often taking her on errands and shopping.
Does she need a security detail?
Absolutely not. Why? Why would you need a security detail?
Oh, she loves it. She just loves it. She loves the detail. I think it makes her feel as if she's like a superstar.
Dalton trustees have filed a lawsuit against Henyard, saying she's not justified the need for security and is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on it without the board's approval.
I see no justification whatsoever, and more than that, it's really a detriment to the residents of Dalton.
How so?
The residents, if we would take the same money and put it on officers patrolling the streets, then the residents will see a much better presence and public safety will be better.
We've had a few shootings, so we need the extra police patrolling our streets instead of patrolling her.
And we found Dalton credit card statements showing that Henyard takes the detail with her even when she travels out of town, spending thousands of dollars on plane tickets, lodging, and meals for the officers.
Mayor, why are you taking all the officers out of town with you? Isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money?
Let's go to this one right here.
Anything you want to say to defend yourself on this?
As for the village's finances, trustees say Dalton is now getting sued by some vendors for failure to pay its bills.
In the last 2 fiscal years, we're $5 million in the hole. And a big part of it is the security detail.
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing?
It's embarrassing. You don't see the governor with a detail as hers.
That lawsuit over the mayor's detail has not yet been settled. On Monday, we emailed a list of detailed questions to Henyard's spokesman, but never received a response.
Oh, honey, the streets of Dalton are hotter than a summer sidewalk, and everyone's got an opinion about this mess. Social media? It's exploding faster than a bag of popcorn left too long in the microwave. Twitter's lighting up like fireworks, with posts coming in faster than Tiffany can count those stacks of cash. One user, eWatcher, hit the nail on the head. How does a small-town mayor end up with millions under her mattress? Something's fishy in Dalton, and it ate the whole lake. Over on Facebook, the groups are sprouting up like weeds in spring. Titles like Tiffany's Treasure Trove and Show Me the Money Mayor are turning into mini investigation hubs. But it's not just the keyboard warriors throwing shade. Dalton's residents are out here giving sound bites like they're angling for their own reality TV spin-off. Take Mrs. Johnson from down the block, who told the local news, I've lived here 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Makes you wonder, where's all this money coming from? Is she running a secret underground casino? Did she hit the lottery and just forget to share? And don't even get me started on the theories. They're wilder than a Kardashian night out. Some folks think the millions came from shady kickbacks tied to those 2 cozy contracts she's been handing out like free samples. Others believe she's been skimming off the town's budget like a baker sneaking cookie dough. And then there are the conspiracy theorists who swear she's got a secret side hustle, maybe moonlighting as a rapper or selling designer knockoffs online. Whatever the truth is, one thing's certain. Dalton hasn't been this entertained or this scandalized in decades. Stay tuned because this drama isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about
very serious
concerns?
Very, very serious. Very.
Lawrence Gardner owns a U-Haul rental and trucking business in South Suburban Dalton and says he went to the FBI several months ago, frustrated that the village of Dalton would not renew his business license. Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dalton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork to show them what was happening in court and what was happening in Dalton. And they told me they was investigating and they would be in touch with me.
Gardner is one of 6 people who confirmed to Fox 32 that they've been interviewed by the FBI, ranging from Dalton business owners to a former village employee and at least one public official. And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips, hundreds of thousands of dollars in police overtime for her personal security detail, using public employees and tax dollars for personal benefit, and holding up licenses to certain businesses like this Dalton restaurant.
I've heard rumors that say, hey, I'm on the wrong team.
Dwayne Wood has been trying to renew the business license for his restaurant for nearly a year. While he has not talked to the FBI, he believes he can't get approved because he's provided catering to several Dalton trustees who are engaged in a political fight with Henyard.
I think I've been just targeted because of my association affiliation with a certain group of people. You know, I had the trustees. I've cooked for the trustees.
And in a lawsuit filed by a Dalton towing company, the owner alleges their business license has been held up because, quote, George's Towing's refusal to support or contribute to Henyard's political campaign. In a statement, Dalton trustee Jason House reacted to the news of the FBI's involvement. We welcome any investigation that will bring transparency on how taxpayer dollars are being spent. Our residents deserve this level of financial transparency. We reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dalton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency.
But here's the thing, regardless of where the money came from, Tiffany is in more hot water than a lobster at Red Lobster when it comes to legal issues that could make OJ's trial seem like a parking ticket dispute. The FBI won't play nice. Instead, they will go through Tiffany's life with a fine-tooth comb, searching for any small detail that doesn't add up. And let's not forget about her political career, which is about to blow up faster than a marshmallow at a campfire. The people of Dalton are furious, feeling as though they've been duped, and Tiffany knows it calls for Tiffany's resignation will come, and thick and fast. But it's not just Tiffany who will feel the heat. The scandal feathers will flayaque to someone throwing a grenade into a chicken coop, and everyone will be staring at every politician in the area, wondering who else might be hiding a fortune in their fruit vendor. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. This whole mess could just be the wake-up call that Dotan needs. People are now asking questions that they ought to have been asking all along, such as why the mayor needs a larger security detail than Butte, and why the roads still resemble the moon's surface despite our taxation.
The mayor here has been accused of misusing funds. The mayor and a trustee are being sued for an alleged sexual assault against a former village employee. The village administrator now facing bankruptcy fraud charges. And today, this afternoon, federal agents popping in Village Hall looking for some information.
The house of cards are collapsing. I think the government is taking action.
It's normally bad news when federal agents stop by a village hall looking for documents, but that's not bad news to many in Dalton.
Months and months and months, we've been begging for someone to come out here and actually investigate as to what's actually going on out here.
Video appears to show those federal agents inside Village Hall Friday afternoon, where we've learned they were serving 2 subpoenas. One focuses on employment and disciplinary records of 25 Village of Dalton employees, including 3 police officers and Keith Freeman, the senior administrator recently charged with bankruptcy fraud. The other subpoena focuses on Freeman and any potential involvement with certain companies, whether or not they received any money, had business or contracts relating to the village. One trustee says Mayor Tiffany Henyard has left them in the dark for months.
Since September, we haven't received financials. And the last time we did receive financials, we were informed that we were $7 million in debt.
The Legislative Counsel for the Board of Trustees says the feds may have a tough time getting the documents they're requesting.
The clerk is the custodian of the records. That's the good news. The bad news is she doesn't have any records because they have taken the records away from her.
I was being told that those documents probably have been shredded weeks ago.
The news of the feds' Friday visit even drawing a crowd near Village Hall, as many in the community support an investigation into Henyard's practices. The trustees even hiring former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot this month to investigate the Dalton mayor.
The people of Dalton want to be rescued. They know they're bleeding. And they know there's no money left, and they live there. And so what's next? Police services, fire services, water, what's next?
The FBI did confirm that they were conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity in this area today, but could not comment further. Tonight, Mayor Tiffany Henyard posting on Facebook, pointing out that this was not a so-called FBI raid here at Village Hall, also adding in a statement, quote, "To all you clowns, that's a part of the circus. Misery needs company. I pray for you all. Stop chasing fake news."
Let's quickly review the FBI raids. When millions of dollars are discovered in Tiffany Hensley's home, everyone is going insane. The mayor of a small town has been rising through the ranks of politics faster than you can say scandal, but now that everything is falling apart, what will happen next? The feds will be going through Tiffany's life as if it were a Saks clearance sale, questioning everyone from her hairdresser to her second cousin twice removed in Dalton, Chile. The town is about to undergo some changes, which begs the question, is this just the tip of the iceberg? People are talking about this and saying it's not over by a long shot. This drama is only getting started, so...
Now let's get into the details about Henyard using cops as her security detail 24/7. Which is insane because she is a mayor of a small town. Why would she need security 24/7? An open records request shows that officers assigned to Henyard have racked up hundreds of hours in overtime, obviously costing the town quite a bit of money. This is costing the town hundreds of thousands of dollars, actually, and the police get paid every 2 weeks, like most people do, with 80 hours counting as their regular full-time hours. But some of the cops, like Terry Young, have billed as much as 303 hours in a single 2-week pay period. Okay, let that sink in for a second. He billed 303 hours when in 2 weeks there's a total of 336 hours. There's more. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000. They also ran errands for her. They accompanied her on trips out of town. And even though supervisors appropriated money to ensure that lenders were getting paid for the police cruisers that the town had acquired, Henyard didn't make the payment. And as a result, those vehicles are now going to be repossessed. This is crazy. Now, because of all of this alleged misuse of taxpayer funds, Board of Trustee Jason House reacted favorably to the FBI's investigation, saying that the Board of Trustees and I have repeatedly questioned the mayor's office on her use of public funds. We welcome any investigation that will bring transparency on how taxpayer dollars are being spent. Our residents deserve this level of financial transparency. And honestly, it seems as though the entirety of the Board of Trustees have been pushing back on her spending. Now, Dolton Board of Trustees members are not happy with her. And so in a recent meeting, they went after her. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's start with Brittany Norwood, who's one of the members of the Board of Trustees.
When we first started office, we were financially sound. But over just the last 2, and I want to say maybe 1.5 years, we went from financially sound to a $7 million deficit. And that deficit continues to grow. What she does is she says, well, hey, I'm using all of this money to provide services. So she tricks the citizens into thinking, hey, all of this spending is just to provide you with services. And the trustees, they want to cut the spending because they don't want you to have these services. When the truth is, she's overspending and she's doing so much frivolous spending that it's catching up with us. And at some point, it'll eventually come to an end and we don't know where that may lead us.
This is so deeply unfair to the residents of Dolton. So unbelievably unfair. You think that they couldn't use that money for a better community, whether it be funding their schools, maybe giving them a tax break, a little bit of a tax break, considering how high their property taxes are, considering the fact that 15% of the population living there are currently living in poverty, maybe some social programs to help them out. And earlier this month, the board called for, her to explain some of this spending. They called her spending into question. And Henyard, she was not pleased. And so she went on a very lengthy rant. I have a snippet of that rant for you. Let's take a look.
And y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. All the stuff that y'all did to get people to come to our community, to just diss and down our community. Shame on y'all. Because when I want to attack and take any of y'all seats, I run. I run for the seat. I don't do smear campaigns. I don't do all this mess. It's nonsense. Because at the end of the day, we still got to live in this village.
She kept mentioning how unfair it is that she's being targeted as a black woman. Just want to show you what the racial makeup of the Board of Trustees looks like. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't think that the questions about her use of public funds has anything to do with race. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it seems like some shady stuff is going on. And it is certainly not fair to the residents of Dolton to have their resources taken from them only to be used on hair and makeup, on a Chevy Tahoe that cost the town $150,000, on a 24/7 security detail for a small town mayor that no one's ever heard of until now, I guess. It's just such awful behavior, and it's such awful abuse of public funds. And so I hope that justice will be served. I hope the FBI does a full investigation into this, because again, not fair to the people of Dolton at all.